in this situation when your teammate is knocked, Surge is down. If you try to res them up, you've got to understand that that's going to be another player that stays in the game for Surge. If you just let them go down and potentially reboot them later, then that is going to knock one more player count off, and the Storm Surge will actually end earlier, giving you a larger chance to survive through the remainder of the game. I think Kuril noticed that about halfway through reviving, but there's still 2 more players to go down, so at the end of the day, sometimes it's just not enough.
I'm liking this new Cray strat, basically, from Q-Roll.
Cray?
Cray. It's crazy to me, because I'm not sure how he's going to come back from this one. I'm impressed, Reese, if he gets, like, what, 20 points by the end of this game. That would actually be really cool. From this spot?
I was going to say 10.
Oh, no.
That's +1 from this perspective. You know? Trying to make it to the next threshold?
It kind of shows the pressure that a lot of those teams are under as well. If you take a look at Rotary and Q-Roll, they're coming in fresh today. These are just 3 games that they've played before. Now they're 4th rolling in, right? For a lot of these teams, this is what? If you do the mathematics, 14th game that they're playing. For some of them, this is like the 7th, 8th they're rocking in with. So that's kind of nuts. Clement and Floki have had the luxury of being one of the teams that have had a little bit more in terms of, you know, just being there since day 1, I believe, overall. Looking at Q-Roll now.
Yeah, we looked at that. I mean, you said 20 points. I said 10.
It be like that sometimes.
It do be like that sometimes. You know, they're going with the strategy of landing off the boat off the side of the map, the 50-50 boat.
Yeah.
And there's just, firstly, not enough there for a duo, but you're also seeing that teams are third-partying them off spawn repeatedly because they're just landing near known splits. This is not a drop spot that, I don't want to say doesn't work in duos, but I'm just going to say it doesn't work in duos.
We have made claims, based claims.
Based claims.
Yeah. We had a lot of those yesterday.
There was a lot of those yesterday.
Yeah.
About specific teams.
Now we are chilling. Rocky Reels, always in the business. I feel like I'm watching the same endgame over and over, but the players are changing, getting better. Snazy Nate, box to box, dealing the damage, making this team just look absolutely so scared. And yeah, I think.
With a pre-edit?
Look at that. Sorry, look at that quick pre-edit. They know exactly what's going down. It's just huge. Having to re-edit, though, that's the tough part.
That's why I don't ever do it myself. I am horribly useless, but players like Snazy and Nate are absolutely infinitely better than me. This is now a 2v1 situation. The second place team got up against Keyrox right now, but he's putting up a great fight, but no, the headshots start to come through. And the loot just completely yoinked all of that useful loot, basically, all of the materials, all of the heals that were sitting down there, just taken away from Snazy and Nate by a single harpoon shot. The exact thing you mentioned earlier.
Might be like a pre-fire on that harpoon too, because the loot is only that together right when the person gets eliminated. It spreads apart really fast, so I'm not sure what that team was thinking, trying to grab the player, steal the elim completely too, and
it's the only reason.
Yeah, but that actually just might be huge for Snazy and Nate. They needed some of those mats back. You look at the hard mat situation right now, barely any metal, any brick from Snazy in his inventory, and by this point you would assume that both duos, both teammates here, would have split their loot overall, right?
Yeah, and you're going to have to think at this moment as well, they're probably going to have to launch pad. Look at the distance they rotate the 4th. Some players will just have to use it this early. And if I'm them, I'm thinking maybe even tank a little bit of zone so that players like Till and Julian that we're seeing right now start their rotate so they don't hold them out the sky.
Yeah, you talk about the sky rotates and pads. This position that I've seen that Till and Julian are in is the same that we saw Lecce and Swollium. It's the same that we saw a bunch of teams in the 4th zone that have won the game today. And they did use that proficient padding to get to a spot to then build up again. I feel like I'm seeing some strength out of Till and Julian. Also one of the first times where they rotate and neither player takes any damage on that rotation in. Very clean builds too. I would prefer maybe a little bit of brick built up, but it's smart to go for metal if you're landing between so many teams. Armored Wall here too. They are not joking around. They're at a central position. It's looking really good for them. Absolutely great.
Exactly what I called off of this pad. Not waiting that time. The players beamed him out. Now the heals are going to have to be wasted. At least Nate has managed to keep up with some good HP. Managed to get Snazy straight back up into this as well. But the rotate has to be made. Notice the layering. Really nice. Having to elevate on these quite frankly, awful fourth zones. But ooh, yet again, the spray starts coming up from Sky2. But no, Nate is going to go down way too early. The armored walls were in the inventory, but just not used early enough. That's the finish. And Snazy is luckily going to be able to grab whatever remnants he can of that. The Chug Splash is left alone, but only 23 builds still left to his name. He's still going to have to go for a layer change. Now only left down to wood. This is a signal to the remainder of the lobby that he has nothing to work with, but he's trapped himself inside a corner. A corner of pain, I must add.
I'm wondering what the decision is to even make this elevation change. Look at the zone. There is a possibility of them tanking just a little bit, going around and staying on the ground. It was definitely there. I'm wondering why they wanted to go up high so fast. It's going to have such a huge cost. Meanwhile, Pooping and Bevies, this is where a lot of the teams that are desperate on Surge will also start to dive in. It's not just position you're looking for, it's that damage. And over and over again, we see Poopy and Bevies over just their heads, it feels like, in position. They just get beamed from all sides. They never get to play their game properly. And once again, it's not lightning that's striking on them, it's bullets from every single angle.
And for the 10th place team, this could be absolutely horrible for the leaderboard placement right now. They're 100% possible of getting up into the top 6 into the qualification range. But if they go down here, this could drop them down to the 15th or something. And now the zone's starting to pull. They have no rotation on the far left. Jeff goes down on the right as well.
You guys are used to watching Stark season way back in the day. This zone has a little bit of that type of style going on. One very big cliff and hill where you see an entire Fortnite game going on. Very strategic, you know, people in suits looking at each other. What is your position? Sir, do you have a pad? You know, very eloquent high table stuff. Down below, it's just carnage. People box fighting. It's isolated. You can see it on the left side of the screen. Bevy's just got out of one. He's looking for another. Keandro, so many people above him. He's also in these underground city streets looking for a little bit of action, some damage, some chance to just come back into the game, but he's bullied down too. Bevy's finds eliminations. He's chilling. 2 different worlds of Fortnite active right now.
7 mats. Definitely not my definition of chilling, but everything else, 100%. The loot, looking fantastic. The rotations pulled back in their favor, so they may have some old builds, small amount. They're thinking about it. They're thinking about this car.
The issue is it's pulling back, I think, up a mountain, so I'm not sure exactly if they're going to have room to get up. Yes, the zone says it's going that way, but Reese, you never know how the zone likes to go in the position that it's going towards, right? It could just pull up and then turn right a little bit. It could go in very different ways, and with 7 mats, I don't think there's a chance these guys can elevate themselves up. Not even, maybe they change something with the chonkers and they have spikes on them now. They can take the car up the cliff. Do they have the room to move?
I think they can go down that route. We also saw Ziandi, our first place, with Alex caught on the full dead side of the zone, managed to, I think, use that launch pad to keep themselves, so they're going to be in this game. Snazy's still left in this as a solo as the zone starts to go. He's got a single launch pad high up into the sky right now. We see Nyadin still in this too.
Snazy's qualification is kind of on the line here, I feel like, in this game. Yes, it's only game 4, but him going down here ruins the pace entirely of the whole tournament for him and Nate. He has no materials. Triple digits at least is what I'm looking for. Maybe 110, 120 after game number 4. He will all in with the whips, the swings. Those web shooters active, and he's going right inside of a box of Madua, trying to look for a little bit of a beam. Now all the way down to low ground, he's looking for anything. Snazy cannot find it. There is no map. There is no treasure on this side of the zone for him. He has to make it himself, but there's nothing, no shovel for him to dig through the dirt that he's trapped on.
Most of these players in this situation are trying to hide behind a corner, take some shots, peek up. Snazy does not care. He's swinging, he's angling, he's running, he's on his feet right now, moving and shaking every single direction that he can, and he's finally found that cubby hole to sit in, waiting for a player to come past. He can get any placement possible right now. This will be huge.
This is just an absolute paradox. Yes, he gets to survive the entire time, but he needs to find a player as well. He needs to be able to do both sides of this equation at the same time to find a solution, and it's not going to be able to happen. It seems almost impossible for him, but while he survives, we see Vortexia and Casper thrive on the high ground, mixing right below him with Raxus, 2 teams that have been so struggling to find identity inside this endgame, find identity inside the semifinals. Are they on height, looking to control the rest of the lobby? It'll be a big task. Snazy finds a beam, but 20 damage, 2 less. Unfortunate for him, he goes down.
Great job by a solo, keeping himself up in the game as long as possible. Yet another solo to the name, Volko, alongside Pena, 2 of the most aggressive players we have seen throughout the qualification system. Not managed to make it that deep into the majority of endgames, but we know these guys can hit shots. We know that these guys can do well, but Volko left as a solo. Oh no, he goes down.
The zone becomes a labyrinth, a maze that's unsolvable when it bounces back, and it's going to be a maze with hard mats left and right, brick and metal. You have to break through that you can't see through. You're not only blind, you have no information as to what's going on around you. Indretta in a very similar spot. He has nothing, no info on what's going down above and below. Nova with a big swing to get in the front side of the zone, and he has Hardfire next to him. That was so clean from them. Vortexia and Castery, once again, the fourth game, we see Height undisturbed. They might just have a free ticket to the finals right here.
They're going to have to get the refresh somewhere if they need to. They're going to have to drop down, pick it up at some point, and if while they do that, Vortexia with no match stays up on high ground, that's an easy retake from there on out.
On low ground, the ground absolutely disappears and falls. We're going past the cliff, and Floki and Clement were looking so good for the moment. More players will start to drop. It's a clash in the storm, and they're the ones to come out reigning supreme. Floki and Clement with a huge siphon, and they control the underground.
3 teams left remaining, now down to 5 at this moment. Till still popping up in the feed. It's Jox who's picked up here the materials. Now refreshed mildly for Castery and Vortexia. They have 5 eliminations. Those mid-game engagements that they were getting into have clearly figured thing out. It's a 2v2v2.
3 different rounds, but now worlds will start to clash as everyone gets closer inside this 9th zone. 2 minutes in this arena, in the middle of the desert. And who will be free? Julian starts to move inside the zone using the med mist. Castery and Vortexia have found a few mats and are still staying all the way up. It's a clash down below. Till is down. Floki and Clement side by side, shoulder to shoulder. Strong as a boulder. It's getting crazy, but Vortexia and Castery, they drop on the house. The roof is on fire with shots. They find a little bit of a pick. Floki is down. Castery's done enough. And it looks like the 40-point Legends will have free Height and look for the win. Just one more person to go. It's a pump on the Clement. Yes, there it is. Actually, only one situation for Castery, and he gets Julian. It was a 3-way 1v1, and he plays it in an expert fashion and takes the win.
It looked like for a second, a millisecond there, that Julian Colm was going to clutch that one up. I saw him pick up the elimination of the Vortexia in the feed at the same time, but no, Castery's on the high ground. He's got the crosshair placement of a demon, and he hits every single shot he needs to pump their way straight through to the finals.
I didn't even see Vortexia go down. That's how fast Julian did it up top in the box. Castery, though, was micromanaging this absolutely perfectly. He knew exactly when to take each shot. That final one being a right-hand peek as well. That was great, especially reached from a team that was so low on the boards.
I think they had 6 points before this match. So they were basically at the bottom at that particular moment. We saw them taking those mid-game engagements. We even asked ourselves, what are they doing right now? Hiding around corners in the 7 outposts, sneaking around a little bit. The refreshes paid off, kept them running, and took them up to high ground.
Absolutely. That's another day 1 team rolling in and now rolling out straight to the finals. Zeke, what do we think about that one? What else is left for us here on the final day of semis?
Man, I mean, there's still some teams that I want to see win, right? Floki, Clement, once again, another team, and my prediction, and Recent Lemon's prediction that we could want to see win. But, I mean, look, it's a big win for Castery and Vortexia specifically, right? They do come out on top. But, again, 11, they just keep getting so close, right? 2nd place last game, a 3rd place this game. At least they're doing well in terms of leaderboard points, right? So, at the end of the day, that's the next few games. Even if they don't find a Victory Royale, they're still making it through on consistency.
I felt really good when I saw them in this game, just because, right, even if you look back to the trio days, right, when they were playing with the Siptos, they were always a team that was really good at being able to control low ground in zones where the elevation was incredibly drastic, like this one, right, when you have those drastic changes. And it's a shame because I really did have hope for them, and it all just sort of fell apart towards the end there, but I'm staying confident, right? You know, they had their game off last game, but you know, in this one they come back out much stronger, and I think eventually, at some point, right, they're going to be okay to go for a win, but if not, right, they're going to be looking really good in terms of the consistency points as well.
Yeah, and I mean, now hitting into triple digits and well into triple digits with that high placement, they're picking up a number of eliminations to go with it. With only 2 matches left, they're starting to look pretty comfortable in there. So honestly, the rest of the lobby probably wants them to win a match so they can pull some of those points out there and maybe open up a space in that top 6 because they've looked pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, things could still go awry. Let's hope that doesn't happen right there. They've shown us that they have control over these matches. They have control over their destiny right now. So with 2 games left, they just got to close it out. Let's just land the plane. We're good to go. We have to talk about Vortexia, though, and Castery finding themselves in Victory Royale. Once again, you know, Levin, high ground is just closing out these games. It's interesting that we're allowed to kind of go this far. Yesterday in NA East, we saw different kinds of wins come out, a few low ground, and then even we've seen from NA East and West, heal-offs happen. But here in EU, everyone's deciding, look, let's just go all out. Let's just butt heads here at the end and just see who wins.
Yeah, and I don't get to do this often, but, you know, insert casual 11 UK bias here. Come on, the boys, man. That's good to see these two making it through. I'll be real, right? I feel comfortable saying this because Vortex is my guy. I'm sure he won't take offense, but, you know, we always talk about how there's like a million Vortexes in EU, right? And it's like, in terms of the Vortex, you know, rankings right now, I wouldn't say Vortex has been the highest for a while. And so to see him actually be able to make it to an FNCS final is sick, right? Maybe now he will rise on the Vortex leaderboards because there is a load of them. But for real, really big congrats to them, and yeah, you know, really nice high ground win.
Yeah, and you know they have to be absolutely buzzing after that, having only 6 points going into that match, very similar to what we saw on NA East yesterday, where Princess Wolf and his duo were able to go through when they were in 49th place. I mean, that win is going to mean absolutely everything to them. And also in that last final clip we just saw, I have to give a special shout out to Castery, because you saw him go to place a build but then run out of builds. The reaction time to immediately swap to that striker pump and hit the key shot in what was a 2v2v2 all down into a 1v1v1 where he picks up the last 2 elims was sick.
Absolutely sick, man. Massive props to these two. They're going to finals. We'll see them, but this is also like a double-edged sword in a lot of ways, Levin and Sundown, because this means that a team that wasn't in the top 6 was not pulled out, right? So this means the top 6 is still pretty tight. Let's take a look at our standings. Let's see how things are shaking out. Remember, we'll take a deep breath. Still 2 games to go. Everything is still okay, at least for this moment in time. But look at this, 105, 104, 103. It's a little tight, Levin.
No, things are really shaking up here, right? You know, someone started to mention it. The likes of Snazy and Nate, of course. Snazy tried to do the little clutcherino, just didn't quite come off, right? But hopefully this time they can stay as a unit going into the next game. Julian Common too as well, a team that will feel like they deserve to be in it. All these teams in the top 10, Sundown, realistically, they're going to be feeling like, hey, we've done just enough, right? Like, we deserve a place in the finals. So these last couple games are going to get real intense.
Yeah, and reminding the viewers, what matters on this leaderboard is the top 6. The prize for 1st through 6, all the same. It's a trip to the finals. And today, if you find yourself outside of this top 6 and not winning a match, you don't go. And I mean, basically everyone in between 3rd and 7th are right on top of each other. And even flipping over the next page, with 2 matches left to go, if you're inside of that top 15, we can even stretch it to top 16, say top 17, because then after that, there's a pretty significant 8-point drop-off. If you can put in a good game in this game number 5, you can still play for consistency in that game number 6. You can give yourself an additional option, another way to make it through the finals. And as you're going through your preparation checklist, that's all that should matter, is looking at the end goal of making it to the finals and how do you get there and figuring out what your duo has to do.
I love it, son. I mean, being able to identify this as a duo and take that even into finals, right, where it's just going to be that much more difficult, and you just have to set your eyes on a goal and just say, look, we just have to accomplish this. These are the steps we need to take. We just need to follow through. 2 games left to go, everybody. We're prepping for game number 5, so let's kick it back on over the casters. Take us in.
Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, 2 more games. I'm wishing we could add 3 or 5 more another day, Reese. I'm having too much fun with this one.
I mean, at the same time, you got to think that would relieve some of the stress of today. We got 2 games left. Top 6 will qualify. There's 2 more victory royales that are left. So, you know, there's some of these teams that are down there in the bottom of the leaderboards. Even the guys who are on that bubble are going to need to start catching up, doing something big in these next 2.
Absolutely, and Zeke actually put a very good point up when that entire, breakdown started with these guys. A team that wasn't in the top 6 got a win. A team that was very low, so those standings now are super close. We're used to seeing that effect kind of happen, but now, Reese, it seems like that waterfall effect that you were describing on Friday, every single player, every team is like 1 point beside each other.
Yeah, it's so close up there, which is great. So what we got to watch out for is those top teams. You can see their placement in the bottom left now. Thank you. That's so good. We can see where they're at. If a single one of those outside of that or inside of that top 10 drops out, this could be devastating for their run, and they might need that big victory royale in the final game.
Yeah, and what this also is from that game number 4, inspiration, a light in the sky. Anyone can still win and get to the finals. 2 more games. Here's game number 5.
Inspiration is what some of these teams will need. Perspiration is what I may need, because this is getting sweaty. 2 more games remaining. 2 more opportunities for teams to get the victory royale. And a top 6 will qualify through.
Lots of landings that we're not going to be watching. I understand why things feel different. You know, let's see Swilliam, Floki, Clement. I have a system right now, Reese, with the semifinals. I need to see them shoot each other every game earlier on. We are getting the Snazy show. Okay. A drop in 2 shots with the 180. This man is a ballerina.
We've seen. Me and Ashley Sundown had this discussion yesterday. The hip fire potential of the heavy shotgun is so good, and it's so much better than a lot of people think. It does nowhere near as much bloom as people actually suspect. As long as you point the crosshair at their heads, it will hit.
It's Nate right now is just tagging along for the ride. He's like, here's some shields, you know, big up, we gotta get going. Like, I'm online right now, I'm in the zone hitting these shots. And you're right, heavy shotgun or just any shotgun, when you're rolling in with it, you want to make sure you're just on target. It doesn't really matter what the difference is.
Yeah, you got to think that's an extra 6 points instantly off spawn. These two teams are going back and forward. Are we landed on each other? Are we not? Maybe change it up, surprise each other, probably based on wherever your drop's landing at this point. But basically, regardless of what it is, Snazy and Nate have been winning.
Yeah, let's talk about that 6-point little boost they got there. There's an island effect, and I'm not talking about the zone that all these players, in quotations, love, right? The island effect is kind of on this leaderboard. As soon as you get towards the top 6 or who can qual, there are islands of points that people start to operate off on, right? So right now we have that higher edge of the 3 digits, the 130s, the 120s. That's Skyzoo, that's the Andy. They're all the way up there on their own island. But then we get those islands getting a little bit more, you know, bigger. The 100-point threshold. That's where we just saw Snazy and Nate at. That's where we see Huddy and Swifty. Kane and Cruel are operating near there too. That little boost puts them on that higher island. You want to be up there only fighting maybe 2 or 3 teams in stakes overall. You want to have that comfortable position, right? As soon as you get to some of these more populated islands worth of points, that's where it's not more so a vacation. It's too overcrowded. It's stressful. One little mistake, 1 point not got, that's 2 placements down.
Seems like Fire Hunter and Stepter now move back to Tilted, right? We obviously saw a little bit of difficulty of them moving to Coney Crossroads at one point. Now rocking all back. It seems to be working out a lot better since they're getting into some of these engagements. Picking up Sanji, who's not had a great day or a couple days landing in Tilted. You know, we saw them with Kinston Siptos across in day number 1. Not really had any of the limelight yet across the entire weekend.
I like Fire Hunter also chasing like a ghost or a shadow and another box in front of Sanji's teammate right there. This man is on piece control duty.
Back over now to the power towers. We've seen engagement after engagement here. Rotary and Q-Roll. A new team to this, and they were landing on the 50-50 boat, but Resac Liam, a team who's been landing here for the majority of it. We saw Frey in the mix here at some point too. He's potentially gone already back to the Sanctuary where he originally started at. This seems to be going on the way of Liam's team, being up on the high ground. But no, the big beams exchanged. Again, no one here is really winning in this match, it would seem so far, though.
I feel the advantage in these types of earlier fights goes to the team that's actually on low ground. You have to use a little bit less builds overall in terms of upkeeping where you are. You can also just use the enemy's builds on low ground. They're too far away to go for those edits. You end up having just a lot more efficiency in attrition.
What most people will usually end up doing, though, is having one player up on high ground, then you get that other one swinging all the way around, getting that surprise shot, the pinch, almost exactly what we're seeing here through the window onto Q-Roll, getting big beam one time. The pinch is fully coming on out. Resac Liam now left as a solo, whereas Rotary and Q-Roll's a duo with almost no HP. The big shot comes through onto Liam, and he is going to be picked up at the exact same time. Rotary and Q-Roll finally going to get a little bit of a swing in momentum from this game, which we have not seen basically at all.
Q-Roll right there is definitely the gears, and then Rotary, the hands on the clock in terms of that play, really baiting everyone in by getting beam Q-Roll in that circumstance. The comms probably from the opposing team, you know, he's one shot, push, push, push. Then you see Rotary just swinging around the watch face, going for all the shots, clasping on what looks like a disastrous situation.
Yeah, that's what I say when I take a ton of damage. Like you're just meant to. I'm baiting, obviously. You're meant to pick up the elimination.
I want to make him look good, man.
Sometimes it works out like that. Not always.
Sometimes. That was definitely just like, I would say, slightly lucky, but I see the cerebral play if they want to claim that they made one. You know? It's not covering all the bases.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
I'm talking personally, myself.
Oh, personally, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like saying, yo, I'm not a fan of this player, but I'm not a hater, you know?
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't do some
wrong take. I take this not even possible.
Yeah. It's a paradoxical take even.
Yeah, walking is crazy.
Yeah, just craziness. Trexter X-Ray. Yeah, the shield kick, I've seen a lot of uses out of it. It's very nice, but it's also, we talk about bait and switch. It seems like sometimes it does interrupt teams overall in terms of wanting to stay in the box they shouldn't be in, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times you want to create a lot of space. You want to be not either directly with your teammates, shadowing them, fighting together, or in that split, intentional pitching, as we mentioned earlier. And sometimes the shield keg just completely throws that momentum and tells the opponents exactly where you are and exactly where they should shoot at, aim at, angle at, everything. It keeps you so locked into this one particular spot that you can't really do anything outside of that. But it gives you all that HP, gives other shields. So it's like this really interesting balance of, is it worth it, is it not?
Most definitely. That balance we've seen used properly throughout most of the qualifiers today. Sometimes it does trip up. Crazy and Rafa, I want to see them succeed. I've seen too many cool cam reactions from Crazy, and they've all been somewhat negative. I want to see it off of a VR straight to the finals. That would be nuts.
There was a positive one in one of the qualifiers, and it was awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I am rooting for these guys because, let's be real, they're using the cam function. And you've got to support that, let's be real.
Definitely do. I like this. A little bit of dynamics coming in. Is that both players hitting the truck off of a swing and then driving?
That was clean.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
a movie. That's a trailer clip right there.
Yeah, more trailer clips.
This one's not as slow as the
After
last
these guys are
one,
getting DM'd. Guys, we're using your gameplay for a trailer. Please use cool items. Don't contest someone. Pasroki, don't build in this next fight for 30 minutes and age your casters by 40 years.
Yeah, we retired after this week. There's a Malamo. Oh, there you go.
Oh no, I was about to say you're focused on that duo. What's happening to Hardfind and Nova? You look at these two names, you look at the drop they're at, and some of the big teams just siphoning out of it. How have they not found footing, especially in a format like this? Yo, you take height, you keep it, you win.
I think a lot of this
It's Hardfind. Like,
I think a lot of this, in all honesty, like I've mentioned multiple times, we know they have the brain, we know they've got the big Coach Harry on them. They're also being gifted a ton of zones. Like, every zone is south, it would seem like. Yet again, we're seeing another south zone pull up. I don't know if EU is just cursed with these kind of zones, but that will often lead you to struggle in a lot of that early and mid game, because a lot of the teams will start rotating into these areas. We've seen so many times the Condo Canyon teams, the Chonker Speedway teams are all fighting in that kind of area, and you'd think that Hardfind and Nova could potentially use this and take advantage of this, but they're just getting into scrappy engagements too with guys like Malibu, who is the team from Chonker Speedway now, but they're not in that spot. They're all kind of spread out over the Oasis as we see right now, and it's just kind of messing up everyone.
definitely is. Went for that switch up, and now everyone's destinies kind of change. Big thing too is that, once again, I don't think it's a curse on the sand. I was going to mention it. The players asked for it.
They asked for it.
We gave them the option, and then, I saw the interview. I went in the back end, typed up what the zone should be, and now we're here forever. 5 seconds. Where do you think this zone goes, Mr. Reese?
I mean, if I'm going to, just a wild guess, I would probably say south.
Possibly.
You never know. In the land of Fortnite, the zones don't always continue to pull that exact different way. As we see, Frey did move back to the Sanctuary here, now being picked up by Blasha and Combeck. No real good luck off spawn for them, or I shouldn't say luck, it's the execution of the off spawn for them not really done excellently. Floss and Andrea, another team who's, honestly, surprising me still to this day. Like, this should be a team who is qualifying for finals. Flois, such a hard worker. Andrea, one of the best tarpers in the game, but their mid and early game is just not able to put them in a good position. It's like, if this team doesn't get to 5th zone with like cap materials, it doesn't seem like they're able to reflex up, catch up. If they're given the opportunity to be put in great positions, they're getting 2nd, 3rd, 4th. But right now, we're just not seeing that from the, I don't want to say sloppy early and mid games, but potentially inefficient.
It might be the fact of Andretta just being forced to be that supportive type of playstyle all throughout the trios here, right? Maybe that dynamic ask of, okay, you're not going to just be tarping in this zone, you have to do a little bit more. Might be slightly overwhelming, at the same time too different inside a duos perspective, especially in this format.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in duos, in an endgame, like, there's no longer a tarper. There's a guy who predominantly will tarp, but he has to aim, he has to shoot. In trios, you're not really as used to doing that. Your tarper, a good tarper, most of the time will not shoot. They will just tarp, put the team in good position, and trust the rest of the team.
Yeah, and the other thing is also, you're just playing for consistency overall. I feel like there is a little bit of greed, a little bit of a shining light like in a mysterious suitcase you want to open up and really take a look at. The fact that you can just qual off the win, it might tempt these guys, a temptation to not stay on their game plan.
Yeah, sometimes you open the suitcase, it's money. Sometimes you open it and it's a big bag of coal. And sometimes if you're going up for high ground right now, in those earlier games, like we've seen already from Flores and Andrea, we've seen them go for a couple high ground retakes, fail miserably, unfortunately. And, like I mentioned, this team is a low and mid ground team in the endgame. They play that classic playstyle for consistency over and over. And going for high ground does not suit their playstyle one bit. So every time I see them going up, I'm just like, stop it. Go down.
They're learning, though. They're learning. And today they kind of have to. Every team that has height just wins. And it's tough for these lower ground teams. And a note on that coal as well that you would get from the suitcase randomly, right? Not the worst gift ever. You could heat up your fireplace. You could sell the coal and have it worth more than the gold if you had, a small amount of gold. But at the same time, if the price of coal isn't as high, then maybe it's bad to get coal. But it's all on the economic markets of coal, which I don't have an insight to. Maybe you do, but I'm just saying.
Right now, we're in a renewables market, and, that coal's not worth much.
True. Okay. Lessons from, is that high-level finance? I don't even know what subject we're at right now. I think I'm still affected by that fight.
I also don't know if that's right.
From last game.
Just
baseless claims
in the dark at this point.
That's what I like to see. Okay, I think the focus should definitely be on any type of Bifrost team rolling in. Leon is one of them. We have Hardfight and Nova rolling too as well. Firehunter looks like he has a little bit of pizzazz in this game. You know what I mean? Before, it's like a very quiet individual rolling in POI to POI. Now, he's the one taking the first shot.
Well, he's back home. He's in Tilted Towers. Oh, no! Oh! He just goes into box. The players camp into this moment, and Leon will also follow in and not be able to pick up the 1v2. The sneaky plays to sit, hold the edit open, hide, lure them in. You understand that the opponents are weak, need their surge. It's all over.
Yeah, at their house, their welcome mat just says, go away. Beware of shotgun.
Maybe not the second part. But the go
yeah,
away part?
About to say, man.
Perfect. Yeah. That's a classic, right? For this type of moment in the game where the Storm Surge is active, when players need to be aggressive, you can pinpoint those players who are below Surge. You can sit deep back into your boxes, keep those hard builds, and allow those teams to run in, make mistakes, and you can pick up easy eliminations, get easy refreshes from those weaker teams, similar to what Ziandy's done here right now. You see that other player go down to Surge, and they were trying to capitalize on the solo that was left in this. Even though they didn't get the eliminations from it, but they did get the single one, they managed to get tons of loot.
Okay, putting hats on top of Trexler, that's what I'm talking about. But I like the fact that Ziandy actually stays back and doesn't follow him one level up when Trexler did build up. That attracts a lot of third parties. Ziandy wants to keep this quiet. He's learning, because I saw him do it on the first day, even the second day a little bit. Now he actually understands the cost of going for fights over and over again. It seems like this team in the lead, it just looks absolutely brand new on day number 3.
Yeah, Trexler is trying to get a little 1v2 action right now. I'm not really sure how that's going to play out for them, especially since the shield peg is popped. Ziandy's going to start running in on the right hand side. We see Kane alongside Cruel getting really beamed up, chunked up on what will be a pure bad rotate for so many players who are stuck in Tilted Towers. This is obviously a southeast zone, and a lot of those are getting stuck in the congestion there of that main build. And for Kane and Cruel trying to rotate later on, that's going to be rough.
Definitely going to see that funnel effect coming in from everyone through Tilted, and everyone that is at Tilted is probably low on Surge. You were mentioning it at the very start of this stream, Reese, of the broadcast. Ooh. Okay, Ziandy, that's what I'm talking about. That's what started everything up. Yeah, X-ray being seen throughout the map and tracked. That's kind of poetic in terms of having an aim. Cruel, just go all in and press the jump button on the sedan. Interesting, and they're really zooming. We're talking about making a rotation from a tough spot. Wow. I'm not sure who taught Kane how to drive, but maybe I need some lessons. Beamed by every team, though, and an explosion that drops the shields. Kane gets to survive, lobby focus. They have to start to move and make more boxes. Nice. They make a 3x3, a 2x3 almost, and that should get things quiet for their layers.
That rotation is only going to take you so far. Remember, you could easily sideline when there wasn't that many teams around them and there was trees to cover their angles, but as soon as they got out into the open of the mid-map, it was over. The truck flying through a bunch of the builds. We've seen some wild things with cars today, and unfortunately it was Crazy, who we saw rotate with that in the early game, using the Spider-Mans to jump into it in that montage trailer-esque moment, has now just driven straight into the box and out of the game.
Oh, man, so every team desperately trying to get in. Kane and Cruel, I mean, if you're going for this angle with a sniper rifle, what is really going on with your game? This just screams desperation. There's so many other teams you can be focusing on if you just get up and look, and that's exactly what Cruel starts to do. You have to understand, I know why Kane's going for it. They don't have that many options racing their inventory. Just one SMG on one side. I don't think that Cruel has that much on the other either. Skyzoo also in kind of a little bit of trouble. Backed up by the zone. Big shot, but he's going to go down no matter even if he got that knock because he was just taking that 2 damage tick over and over again.
That's our second place team now currently out of the running, which is going to open up a lot of this for guys like Kane and Cruel. If they can capitalize and start moving up those leaderboard positions, they're definitely going to secure things a lot more going into the final match they're about to see. But like you mentioned, this inventory, this is not great.
Have the members is looking better. What do Kane and Cruel need to do now, though, is the thing I wanted to mention. I would say 130, 140 points by the end of this game. That should be the comfort mark if they're not looking to win.
I think that's about it. Yeah, you know, and potentially up to the 150s. We'll exactly see what it's like once this game's over because they're still on the bubble with the end game going. After this game, yeah, 130, 140, absolutely. But that's not going to secure it, I don't think, yet. We'll see after that final game. In terms of them, how do they get to there? They firstly have to get that refresh, probably at the 5th zone, because they have barely any materials to work. I think it was like 50 builds each. You saw obviously the, quite frankly, horrible inventory in terms of weapon loadout. No shotgun, no AR, no chances of doing big damage there. And they were close to that next rotate as well.
Talking about refresh, you're talking about being in positions to rotate. You can apply all of that as well on the Floki because 118 points overall. They're in a very similar boat to Kane and Cruel. What they want out of this game, if they want to just keep on record, on track, is to get to that 130 mark. Put themselves in a position for Game 6 to qualify. For Julian, it looks like now he needs to do the impossible. Already 10 points behind where the upper echelon in the top 6 already is. He's 7th place overall, as you can look at the bottom left right now, team number 7. And what he needs is a solo clutch of a generation. This man needs to churn out 25 points by himself from the 4th zone.
Currently in 7th place. He's going to need to do something massive. But hold on the right-hand side, a huge development here as we see Kane currently go down, our 5th place team, leaving Cruel as a solo. We thought they were in such a good position. Yeah, not the best materials to their name, but now not a teammate either. Cruel now beamed down to almost 50 HP. No hard mats to his name. The spray from the SMG starting to come through at the same time. The pressure unrelenting, and no, he's going to be picked up. So that's now opening the woodworks for guys like Julian. If he can clutch this up as a solo to get up into the top 6, potentially even the top 5, but only 11 builds to his name. Not looking good.
For all the teams in the bubble, everyone in the top 10, it feels like, you know, there's so much on their mind in terms of being able to stay in the game, stay ahead of Surge. The brains can't handle that much capacity, and as a result, some things do get missed out on. Kane and Cruel down on Surge hand position. Julian Calm down a teammate, down on luck, down bad in the dirt as well. That is done for him. That's the 7th place team, and now the rest of the lobby is looking upwards, realizing exactly what's ahead of them. A chance at having a seat at the top 6. 2 of those chairs are almost kind of down. Floki and Clement in 3rd realize that the floor is kind of falling beneath them. They need to stay up here in the leaderboard. They want to keep pushing forward. And they definitely can. Kaizen and Yaisen, their 2 actual opponents basically have just gone down. And now for them, what they need to do is just survive this surge. 2 people have to go down here, keep their composure, and try to get any placement available in this game.
Well, the big pop, not sure if that's going to give him any more HP getting away from the surge. 56 below, but no, that trade not benefiting them one bit now. The whole lobby's going to be aware that they're below the surge. That audio cue will be coming into any of the players around that these guys are ticking, losing shield. And again, this is the moment where players can start to lure them into their base. You got Fornax, Kovacs up above, who could really always do with his refresh being further down on the leaderboards, but I'm not sure if they're going to try to make the aggressive play. They're going to try to rotate for Nyazin and Kaizen. No, they're going to hit the pad, but the nice little slide to get himself closer to the zone at that point, but still 20 behind. This is just desperation at this point.
I'm watching their game bleed away. The inventory stacked up with shields, a launch pad ready to go as well. All they just didn't have were the shots. And as a result now, instead of being in a base that's ready to go for a big fly into this half and half zone, instead of being ready to take control of this game, they look scared in a box they didn't want to even be in the side of the zone they weren't even planning on playing from. Meanwhile, everyone else absolutely silent as they wait for the next portion of the game.
Alex Cod and Ziandi are current leaders, still up in this as well, looking very healthy. We know there's a lot of disruption in the top 10 teams so far. Tons of them have managed to go down. Andrea and Lois down in that 13th, still in this as well.
Not a single shot in sight. One SMG rattling somewhere in the zone.
Players are scared. They know.
Everyone is realizing that this is basically it. Second last game. This is kind of the only place where there will still be formalities. Still a few people playing for consistency. There's the first strike. It has to be apparently Andretta and Flois that start to get bullied. Of all players in the lobby, there's going to be Lumbo trying to go for that forced push. 208 damage below. They have to look for something. Try to grab it, or it's going to be a choke. A big launch pad. They'll start to be striking the sky as they move. 38 seconds to that 7th zone. Everyone now is playing for that position. They're playing for that win. They just want to stay alive as long as possible.
Andretta and Refsguard double dipping on that launch pad, hitting it, bouncing straight back to the front side of the zone with the minimal materials. This should save them up a ton. In the healing feed, we see another big one coming through from Clement, so he's popping off at the same time. The heals coming through onto Flois. Now Andretta has to put his team in a good position. They can tarp on the edge of the zone. They can go on that dead side. They can put themselves in a winning position for this game, in particular on the leaderboards, because they are 12th right now.
8 seconds till we see how difficult the zone will really be. Andretta and Flois staying side by side. Big takeover on height though. Zaka almost landing over and going for a fight. Decides not to. We're not going to be going to the bridge, but we will be falling through a bunch of cliffs. No bungee rope available for a bunch of these teams. The mats are running low. Andretta now diving into a box, 271 damage above. He can just play his entire game. 244 wooden materials. Has to catch up with exactly where Flois is. I'm not sure where he's at all. I don't even see him on the screen. He's basically playing as a solo right now. Kaizen only going down. He's dropped into someone else's box. I'm not sure exactly where his teammate is. They've found each other now, and the beams are starting to fly. Boofing randomly. Taken down. What a steal of mats. Just position, wealth, and they're still moving onwards, but the floor is falling. I mentioned the cliffs. They're just going everywhere. There's no chance for anyone to find any stability in this zone. Swifty, as well as near the top, is looking to see exactly what he can do.
Ooh, Alex Codden alongside Zandy now going up for the high ground, up against ABR and Ping at the same time. If they win this game, this could be massive because they'll be dropped out of the leaderboard. The current high ground team, no, it's going to be Zandy who gets knocked by Ping up on the high ground. He's looking for the body, he's looking for the refresh. He needs the materials to get himself back up in this, but he's got 4 maps. The high ground is open, it's free. None of the teams are looking up. None of the teams are realizing the opportunity, but someone is at the front side of the zone. The Infinite Nanty, the Crank, the Spider-Man fling comes out. We've seen so many of these shots hit connected so far, and it's Zaka and Zara who managed to take the high ground, but yet again with minimal materials.
They saw it once, they said not today, and now they make the jump and the climb. Another team starts to come up with more mats. Who is it going to be? Is it revenge of the spiders from down below, or will they fall down the Sprout? 22 more damage from Zara on the right side. He's trying to do anything to stay up top and have a flow in this conversation. Down below, Esti and Andretta are getting squished. There's Clement forcing fights down in the underground. This is huge. Esti's still taking a lot of damage. Andretta somehow survived. How is it even possible to build down here? It's so suffocating for a bunch of these players, but Andretta is finding a way. Deox now finally going down. Zara finds Ping, so they have some type of thing on height, but no, it's Jeff and Kiandra who get it. Where does this team come from? 43 points. They might seal a ticket to the finals.
They might get their way through, but at this moment, they're going to have to do something more important than that, which is get some refreshes, get some HP, get some materials, get something going up in this game, because the single team looks up in the lobby. They're going to see the weakness. There's almost a high ground, but Jeff goes down, picked up, messing up completely. Not a single team understanding the holding, the understanding of up there, but it's Kylie. It's Kylie who goes up.
6 different teams alive, 7 players. Now it's just solos. Kylie looking to put his team on his back. Every single player now has lost his teammate. It's just them, their mats, their shots. A few ciphers on the ground. Kylie's all in with his mats. Force is now building up. It's a fight for height, and he actually denies them. Has the speed, has the peppers, and has the drop down, but misses the shot. Right side denied. A double ramp up top. Blocked by a cone. Kylie still goes up. A dodge from Force. A shot from Force. But Kylie's too strong. The spider flip's not there in time, and it's Z-God with the win.
You said this would need to be done as a duo while talking about Alex Cod, while talking about Z-Andy. They've proved you, they've proved me, they've proved everyone wrong that a solo in the end game can clutch it up. The clutch masters, Z-Andy, Alex Cod, will pick up the victory royale and the qualification through. But don't worry, they are in first place currently, which means that the leaderboard's opened up big time.
Definitely shaken, but talk about a game that goes down to just a spider thread. If that shot from the web shooter hit, that would have been so different. So good, though, that Z-Andy and Z-God roll in and have this win under their belt going into the finals.
That was An incredible finish, I'm not going to lie. I am at the edge of my seat. I wasn't sure who was going to be able to pick it up. I thought Kylie was going to be able to clutch it up with the Spider-Man. We've seen so many of those good clutches throughout the weekend. But look, you've seen our reactions. Let's throw it back to the desk to see what their reactions are.
I'm stunned. I'm shocked. Wow. You know, this is the perfect situation, right, for Kylie. The 1v1s all around the table. And just the way he was building, too. You could just tell, like, watch the minimal builds, 23. That's it. This is all he has to work with. And with every step, he's not building aggressively. He's building, like, straight up, right? Jumping backward Levin onto the ramp, saying, look, I'm trying to use his minimal builds right there. Boom, he jumps up back up again. Another ramp, right? He's not going on the offensive. Very mindful of what he has. And right there, he got the elimination, Levin, but he wasn't close enough to get the drops, which meant he had no build.
It's such a shame to see him go down like that. I'm sure he's so frustrated because he honestly was so close there. But to see Alex Corden and Ziandi get the win, look, they've been really consistent. And I wasn't too sure about their chances of actually winning that, right? Ziandi went down a bit earlier, and I didn't even have the thought in my mind that Alex Corden could even solo clutch that. So to see him just sort of pop out there at the very end, I'm sure he was thinking, what's going on? I've just taken out Logan. Where's the height team? Oh, Victory Royale. Okay, I get to go to the final. Like, it was really just sort of crazy in that moment. But, you know, you can see here, these guys, Sundown, they have been pretty consistent today when you look at their games.
Yeah, and just keep an eye on the top left. It pretty much all happens at once. Like, in the same moment, we go from 4 down to 1 right there at the end. And, I mean, it's just so unfortunate for Kylie, unable to channel, well, I guess since we're in Europe, their inner PDR parkour and hit that key mythic web slinger shot there that we've seen in so many of the other days, because that would have been the highlight play right there. But Force gave him just enough of a challenge, put just enough pressure, burned him out of, like, one more mat. You saw him go to throw the cone down, and that little input was the delay there that he didn't have, and then he wasn't able to swap over in time to get that possibly final saving sling, and instead it goes over to Ziandi and Alex Cod.
It happens, and just like that, it happens, man. But on the other end, you got to congratulate them, right? They did get the Victory Royale, but for Ziandi, he was in first place, right? They got themselves the Victory Royale, which means now this could be another duo that we pull out of the total pool of players, right? So there's a lot that is kind of unfolded here. And, you know, Levin, Sundown, we only have the one game left. So I want to call an audible here. I want to kind of throw up the graphic just to remind everyone, if you've just tuned in, you're like, but there's been a ton of games. Let's see who all of our victors are, and then we're going to go right into standings, okay? So once again, and I'm so sorry, how do you guys say Ziandi's teammate's name? I'm so sorry.
Alex Cod?
Alex Cod, there you go. Okay, I was like, I know that's not like Z. I don't know what it was, but this is what happens. Players always change their name. Okay, let's hit the standings. Let's get serious. Okay, one game left to go. Let's take a look at the bubble. Don't forget, top 6 will make it on through. So right now, Snazy Nate, they come in today, and they're looking to hold Levin, but can they? Because Kane and Cruel, they're also doing very well.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Snazy and Nate is they'll just be hoping that somebody above them gets a Victory Royale, if not them, right? In terms of just, guys, let's make it deeper into the game, but if one of you could get the Vic Roy, it would do us a solid, you know what I'm saying? So this last game is going to get real intense because, Sundown, look how tight it is just points-wise. Even when you're going down to 10th, like, that's very easily jumpable in terms of getting in. Look at 11th as well, 101 points. It's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, let's be honest here. Everybody in the top 13 who's just outside kind of that triple-digit range right now is in touching distance of that top 6 right at the end. It's going to be close. It'll be more beneficial if somebody in that top 6 does end up taking away a Victory Royale, like you said, because it pulls out just that many more points. But with only one match left to go, there are 7 spots on the line in the finals for the EU, F, and CS. The question is, who's going to grab them?
It's so tough, right? Like, this could be anyone. And like, the perfect situation is a team in the top 6 gets a Victory Royale, right? Because then that means that the top end will be able to kind of move up. And then it's kind of like, where did we all end after that game? But alternatively, if someone outside the top 6 gets that Victory Royale, then that top 6, like, it's already too close right now. So as we're watching this game, for you fans at home, like, watch that bottom left. It tells you where, like, that number with the little, like, Celsius sign is telling you what place they're in, right? So you can actively, moment to moment, see how close these positions are flipping. It is absolutely crazy. I mean, how are we feeling going to this last game? I'm not sold, man. I feel like anything I could have thought, like predicted or whatever, I feel like every duo has stepped up in these moments, and they have said, this is it. We have to just kind of throw everything at the wall and then just hope that we can make it, a win or a placement point. How are you feeling coming into this right now?
I think the big problem is if you're a fan of any of those teams, that's just right there, right? Just right there. It could easily be heartbreak, right? And so it's going to be entertaining for us. If you're watching from an outside perspective, you're just trying to have fun, enjoy the FNCS, this is perfect. This is everything you could ask for. But if you are one of those players or a fan of them, it is going to be really, really tight. You're going to be on the edge of the seat the whole game.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm just rooting for good games, and we got one more left here.
Oh, Sundown, I don't want to say goodbye just yet, but it is time. We've made it to the end of today, which means one game left to go. Who will fill these final 2 spots? It's time to find out. This is game number 6 of the FNCS.
Thank you very much. The desk. Shao, I'm going to want you to look into your crystal ball for a second. I want you to rub it. I want you to sit and think, who's winning this game?
Oh, okay. Hold up. Let me actually look at the crystal ball real quick. I'm like zoned in on what to say in terms of, how things are going. I think if it's poetic, in terms of how the quals have been going, it has to be Floki and Clement. In terms of how their journey's been from day one till now, the way the day one players have been rolling in as well. Even though they are basically close to qualifying in this game, they have to roll in.
Absolutely not certain they're first on the leaderboard right now. Remember, we have about the top 10 teams who are all in that qualification range area, whatever you want to really call it at this point. Whoever is on this bubble goes down early, mid, even at the start of the moving zones. This could be massive for any of these other teams, given that opportunity to catch up and overtake.
Yeah, and the big thing, too, is not just, who's making it in, but where are they going to go? The finals, everyone is going to be watching to see which 7 teams roll in. It's the last game of the semifinals. Here we go. One more game. 7 more slots, and 1 winning team with a direct ticket in. It can be any team playing right now that can hit that final. They just have to win. That being said, a bunch of them are close to that top 6. We're looking at Snazy, we're looking at Cruel. That 110-point line is where you have to be that tall, basically, to be in that top 6.
So SLQ slowly decide not to 50-50 this time, and both get 150 by a heavy shotgun from Snazy. So a little bit of a change up. We're kind of, I don't want to say gifted, that's not the right way to put it, but Snazy had a really easy time with Surge at the start of that previous game, purely based on that early contestation. We got to think right now, them being 5th on the bubble, this early game and how they play out Covert Canyon here means everything.
Every decision will be amplified. A butterfly effect towards the later portion of their game. 30 damage for Snazy in a place that could have been 60 or even 90. We'll see if that affects things in a few zones. Glubshy as well. His form of game will be aggression, already finding 1 elimination off spawn onto Chonkers. It's been the most active POI, I feel like, even past Tilted in terms of fights and shots. And so far, the way that he can get towards the finals will surely have to be a victory royale. 40 points at this point, Reese. Unless he's finding secret points we don't know about in the format, there's no way he qualifies off of consistency.
No. I mean, there could be a lot of elims going on down. We see some nutty kind of stuff happening here, but it's interesting the change of pace that we've seen in Chonkers. It's been so chaotic, and it's almost poetic. Coming into the final game, it's just one team. They have the entire land to themselves and every opportunity to qualify.
Syndra and low ticks, this is where the pressure really starts to lock in, whether it is a POI like Chonkers where it's free, where it is, maybe a place where they're worried and contested. What's on their mind is the fact that this will be a very different game for them overall. Symmetry going to be right beside them to take a few shots. It's all about the win for them, and that's how you start a game right. Absolutely glorious prediction on movement, and Syndra has a free elimination to start this game off.
Beautiful. I've not seen a good snipe in a long time on the broadcast. Especially this season, since obviously they're a slight little bit weaker when it comes to Chapter 3, Season 1. That not got that big one-shot potential from the maximum headshot. Look at a quick stat at the top right. Projected points needed to advance through to consistency is 139. Now, this could all change up depending on if one of the teams in that top 6 will qualify through. Someone's above that. Say if Floki and Clement wins the game, for example, that will change up a little bit. But 139 is the magic number.
40 is then the normal number, unmagical. What's the opposite of magic?
Definitely unmagical number.
Unmagical number.
I don't have the exact words, but it's not magical.
Might not be able to cast spells. You can still go to like a 9 to 5. You can still do what you want
all
to do.
tricks,
Yeah. But what Blanca and Combat can still do is something absolutely completely magical, which is winning the game. That will still also get you in. It's 6 teams from that consistency, the top 6, and then the winner as well. We can't stress that enough. And both of the teams that are fighting right now, Kidwo and Frey, Combeck and Blanca, I mean, for the moment right now, 33rd and 27th, consistency is nowhere near them. They'll have to force this fight. They'll have to force every fight possible. It seems like maybe take out as many teams towards the top, get the best loot possible, and just go for that win.
Yeah, you think you see a lot more teams play way more aggressive in this game than we've seen previously. And this is usually the case when it comes to that final game. Even though the off-spawn seems a little bit more calm because there's less teams in lobby, more uncontested players. At the same time, the teams are almost in that we just need to win. And sometimes to win a game, you have to make aggressive plays. If you're just sitting on the low ground, boxing up, tunneling an end game, doing nothing, you're getting no match, you're getting no refreshes. You have to be able to be aggressive and make the plays to win a game.
You might be thinking, then, if that's the case, Reese and Shio, why don't people just disengage off of spawn in the last game? You have a better chance of surviving. You also have half less to loot. You also have no damage and, barely any builds because you have to share everything. In this game, when you want to win, sharing is usually not the way it's done.
Sharing is usually caring in real life. I would highly recommend it. But not in Fortnite.
Not in game.
Not in Fortnite.
Share with your teammates. Yeah. Yes. Otherwise, be selfish. Do you have an opinion on, knocked bodies? Who gets the loot? Is it the person that gets the knock?
Are you referring to in an FNCS situation like this, or if we're playing Arena?
If we're playing Arena, because I know in FNCS it is what it is,
Yeah, I just was wondering if there's a more analytical slide to that.
It's just far from analysis.
I mean, finders get keepers, really,
Wow, okay.
Only if I am not the one that gets the elim. If I get the elim, it's mine. If you get the elim, it's potentially mine if I'm there.
Maximum honor there from Resub. You heard it here first, folks.
It depends, if there's like a pleasant back and forth. Oh, you go drop me this gold striker at one point, then potentially I'll feel a little bit more open and relaxed about, maybe giving you maybe a little AR, maybe SMG here or there.
We'll see. All I know now is anytime I'm playing with you, I'm just taking the loot. Kane and Cruel, they want to I feel like it's itching in their souls to just take all the fights inside the cavern. I'm wondering exactly how games also started for a bunch of players all across the map. What are they trying to steal away from others? Look at that triple edit from Frizusha. This is what I like to see, and he sets up his teammate perfectly. Karmi comes in, picks up that Flodax Elam.
That means Flodax switched drop spot yet again, well, not yet again, sorry. I was actually saying in the last game he was one of the players who's stuck to the Daily Bugle. Qualifiers, semis, doesn't matter. He's not moved one bit. And now in the final game, he's decided to move up, and it's just not worked out for him at all.
Yeah, he's not going to be moving to the finals.
That's also very relevant, true. Good stat. Very important. If you see a team go out who is not in the top 6, their FNCS is over.
That's so scary. Wolfie is going to be in that spot with Mr. J, and this is a team, I know they're 5 points, but they've been so much fun to watch this entire weekend. They've had some of the craziest fights overall. They weren't the ones that were giving us the age fight, right? That was Rafa versus Kylo
no.
or something.
No.
They've had some cool breakdowns, if you're looking to study off-spawn engagements on what to do right, as well as sometimes what to do wrong, this is a very cool team to watch because they have been flipping some spots as well. Now, though, they have to play a certain part of the game where they haven't been to today at all. 5 points means they haven't really even made it past top 30-ish even?
Well, no, remember, first game, 12 minutes they went down, and it was 48.
True. Okay.
So, I don't know in terms of their best placement off the top of my head right now, but it's not been good enough.
I have to go through uncharted waters. Meanwhile, this is kind of I feel like, officially scariest spot to sit in. Julian Comtil. It's not about just surviving in whatever place you are on the leaderboard. It's not even about overtaking others. It's about being absolutely efficient and living in both worlds as much as possible. 7th place. They're 1 placement away currently from just qualing.
Now, this is an interesting position, though. because this is a north zone. I know it's shocking, but this is a north zone. And they're sitting boxing up on the south side of a relatively north POI, which means that all those players are coming in below them. So they should have great sight lines to get a bunch of tags. All the players rotating there. But if it pulls north for a second, they have to go through everyone else who's in that POI.
That's a very good thing to bring up. Usually it's not that big of a thing to analyze. You know, you look at bus pads. Oh, who's going to drop down first? I feel like it's never really that, you know, relevant. But when it comes to a tournament where over a few days, everyone's been playing in the south over and over again. You get used to a very specific type of game style unconsciously, right? When you look at the game now, if it does pull north in the final moments, we've been working to fix things over and over again, how your end game looks. It's all been based off of rocky reels. It's all been based off of rotations in the middle of the map. Now we go towards the top left. We're talking about snow. The lumberyard is now in play. This game will be very different for all of Europe and in a match where it matters the most.
It's poetic. The final game, the game that decides who is qualifying through, is completely opposite to every other game we've watched this weekend by pulling north instead of south. And we see a lot of the teams who are up in that north side, you can already see a kind of complete shift, an almost paradigm shift in the way that the players are playing. When it comes to that south zones, no one's in the zone early. But when it comes to the north zones, suddenly everyone is in that center zone already. It's already stacked. The players like Karmi and Nefrizi, who are rotating in late, are going to have a tough time finding a power position on one of those hills where they need to be in.
Outside the FNCS as well, when you look at the lumberyard, when you look at the zone play in general, when it comes to cash cups and a bunch of the games that have just been played, 26% of the time we're in the top left hemisphere. It's one of the most common games overall for a bunch of the players. I believe that just also might be FNCS wide across the world in general.
Interesting.
All the games. So it might not be cash cups entirely, but if you look at that pattern just for the FNCS, you understand and realize a bunch of players should have good game plans overall in terms of, you know, how things look in this zone. Yeah, they're basically, you know, we talk about home zone a lot of the time. They'll be in comfort in the environment they're around it.
This is a team right here that I hope is comfortable. This is the South Sleepy Sounds team. Lois and Drea, a team that we've talked about all weekend. A team that I've hyped up at the start of the first day yesterday. You know, stinky performances off spawn, in all honesty. They continually went down. They continually lost in a drop spot they're not comfortable with, but now have switched back to their home spot. Sleepy Sounds, the south side. They've pulled a zone that's favorable to them as well.
That's the thing, right? Is it a little bit more tarpy on the top left side? Is it a little bit better for Andretta overall? There has to be a reason they're here for the semis as well, right? Obviously, we know a good team overall when it just comes to character. You're right, the performance has been a little bit sloppy. There can be no excuse for this zone is what I'm trying to say for Andretta and Flois.
100%. They have to put themselves in a good position. They're not as deep in the zone as I would like. Potentially, it has been their struggle so far, not getting that deep into zone, having difficult rotates later on, repeatedly, game after game. So I'm hoping they have a good game plan for rotating after this, once they've kind of got a bunch of tags on the player coming through. Kaizen and Nyazin right now, our fourth place team, they are struggling. 53 below, they're looking to take tags. They're unfortunately looking to trade as well.
They're going to continue to struggle because when it comes to this duo on the top portion of your screen right now, I feel like they're the late duo. We're talking about procrastinators at the very start of this broadcast. Let's bring it full circle. I always see them on zone line. I always see them low ground in these end games. And they do conserve materials that way. They get to abuse other people's locations. When it comes to these mountainous zones, it's a lot more difficult to play that low ground. It's a lot more difficult to survive in mid around all these teams switching layers. And already they're starting to struggle with Surge. It's only uphill from here for these boys.
Could be talking of uphill. Till and Julian Colm in the bottom right, trying to drive uphill and struggling, meeting a wall of players in their way. And then bottom left, you see Nate and Sneezy. Similarly, also, all of our teams here on the bubble and all struggling with this surge, all in a clustered area.
Look at these names, too. Julian Colm, Kaizen, Yaisen, Sneezy, Nate. Some of them might not be here in the finals. This is the last game. And that's just 3 teams we want to be there. Out of the other 3 that can go out through consistency, and the one that'll be there through the win. We will see an upset of a team that's usually there inside the finals. A prestigious name, not allowed to play in this first duels FNCS.
Every single team we're watching right now, 1 shot above or 1 shot below on the threshold. The zone now starting to tick All three of our teams who are on the bubble starting to struggle. Nate's teammate, Snazy, has been completely weakened down. The material's starting to dwindle on the top. We see Kaizen 14 above, just doing anything he can. Now 18 below the threshold again, starting to dwindle down on the chug splashes as well. Julian Com, 18 above from trading. This is one of the closest Storm Surges I've ever seen on the leaderboard of Surge. These guys must all be absolutely next to each other.
When Nate takes a shot, Julian Storm Surge goes down. When Kaizen lands something, they all start to switch. These are the only team, 6 out of the 7 players, that influence each other with every shot they take.
Rough to see Julian Combs managed to get up ahead. Nate actively getting tagged by at the same time. Kaizen just tiptoeing over the line of 15 above, over and over. This triple view beautifully demonstrating every single angle, but now going down into Nate to show you exactly who's in trouble.
Both other teams have gotten almost 100 above. Nate and Snazy stuck down in the depths, 23 below. They started just right here beside a mountain, but suddenly this box does not look like home. Force and Wings, one of the most aggressive duos. I was sometimes akin to being an armadillo when it comes to trying to pressure. It's impossible to crack their shell. They're going to stop Snazy from going in and getting any damage, and now it's all up to Nate.
I think Nate ended up letting Snazy go down there because that ended the Storm Surge. He knows that as a solo, this is the only opportunity for him to qualify. He's in the top 5 right now. He has Wings and Force spraying at his walls as a duo. Just, again, I'm going to say it, dwindling the materials down. He uses the only launch pad that he has. He has no heals. He has absolutely nothing, and that team's just tracked him. That's followed him. The tree started to fall onto his builds, but no avail underneath the cone right now. Center third zone. That's so rough for him.
I'm speechless right now. FNCS Finals without Nate and Snazy in it is what it's looking like for the moment. Launch pad down. So many shields already used. Third place. Skyzoo. Jocks going in to the box. 0 HP. It is a replay of third place going down. And that was 121 points from what we saw earlier on. From analytics, it was 129 that was needed. So even them, depending on if a top 6 team wins or even a team ahead of them winning, they might not even make it to the finals.
That means they're going to be locked in time.
139, my apologies.
139.
29. 139?
So them being locked in time, low 120s, that has to have a huge shift in terms of who qualifies, right? If the teams above them win a game, that threshold could drop big time. We've seen a lot of players up there struggle, which could shift that threshold a ton. But guys like Flois and Andrea, who are on that congested side of the zone with a ton of other players, they have to capitalize on this final opportunity to make it to the finals.
Majority of teams getting the zone. It will be a squish, a crunch for a bunch around the outsides. I mentioned 129 before because I thought that everyone was close to qualifying currently for the moment. But it looks like there's a journey. 10 more even points on top of that to 139 for a majority of these teams. I thought Nate was just right there. Maybe the 6th, 7th zone is all he had to conquer. But he'll have to go towards the 8th and 9th with just these materials, with his medal already half out. This is just disaster for Nate.
Snuck back here. He was away by himself. He snuck over here back to the loot of the players that he was just fighting at before and his teammate Snazy. Remember, his inventory had no shield in it. He was down to white HP. He's now managed to get himself back up to almost 100 builds. Tons of heals left. And now with a shot at qualification.
Prize pool of $1.3 million. A chance to play for it overall. That'll be on the mind for all these teams currently as well. Frizz and Carmi, looking at their position on the boards right now, 9th place, almost going to need more than 30 points. I mean, the only team that's comfortable right now, Reese, have to be Clement and Floki, the Solary boys, rolling in. They started this game with 143. They've kind of already done the damage needed. If they win overall, that will change things for a bunch of teams below them. That'll basically add an extra slot to that top 6 in terms of who qualified.
But again, they're not game winners. They're 2nd, 3rd, 5th, consistent placement teams. They're not guys who are going to go for height and go for the win, unless they're just feeling confident in the final game. So the teams that you're looking for right now on your screen are the ones who are more than likely going for the win.
Welcome to Storm Surge Part 2. Once again, we see teams above that line, below that line. That line specifically. Yeah, 185 for Nate. You thought it got worse with one teammate being down. You thought it got worse with the mats being gone and not around. This man needs to find basically 2 teammates worth of damage. You know, sometimes you get the 100, that person shields up, you have to go and get the 100 again. There's no way someone just lets you deal that 200 once, and I don't see a sniper in his inventory, so he doesn't have a chance for that big shot. Even a headshot at this point would not be enough with 225 being the plate he's being served. Flois and Andretta also in trouble. That 4 number looking that much more scary if it's Frey on your box. Andretta will not go down, surprisingly staying up, and Flois will still go for a beam against 2 players entirely. They have the right side edit. They have a few chances for a shot. Flois gets blocked. He's going to go for the 2v1 beam. He does not get the elimination on one side. He had an opening, but there's no damage, no chance. He's giving them too much time. He has to just edit in and do something. He elects for Andretta to go down, does not trade for the 2 eliminations. He does not go all in. It's all up to Flois now.
That is the issue with not having a shotgun in your inventory. That was a 1v2 clutch he could have easily put into play, but the choice of inventory just was not there. This is the meta he went to work for. Now he's left with no heals, but luckily he still has the launch pad in his inventory as we switch over to Nefreezy, who's chilling on Surge, chilling on position, not so chilling on the rotate back over to Snake. However, on that far right hand side, he's got a duo trying to run straight inside of his box. He does have the shotgun. He's trying to hit the shots. He's below. He's now 38 above at the same time. He's getting straight out of that box. He knows where the danger is. He knows he has to get out. He's the only player below Storm Surge at this point. 15 below, 1 shot. 1 AR tag will put him up above. This is the clutch for qualification, potentially, if he stays in this. And Cheatin goes down in the feed. So does Recycling and Pickle. The Surge is now over. Things have calmed. There's a moment to breathe for Nate. And yeah, he's still looking to shoot some players.
He knows that Storm Surge has a part 3. It's still not done with him just yet, and that number was 96. He had to climb. The people getting the eliminations on these people that are following in the feed as well. Reese, that should be paid attention to. Zara picking up a few of the eliminations. Kidwo as well got one of them, and we just saw Frey and Kidwo pick apart Andretta as well, so they have a huge refresh to work with. Zaka, who's Zara's teammate, gets a nice Elim fully confirmed as well. Look at Flois and where we left him. Very similar to Nate. These are 2 stories, 2 legendary paths. We might just see close here before the end game even starts.
No, Nate goes down in the zone at the backside. Potentially the shots were not correct play. Rose the awareness of everyone else to the lobby. Now it's down to Flois. Losing Andrea, 8th place currently. No heals. 15 builds, 1 launch pad to his name to clutch up.
Low ground, all there is struggle for people who aren't even moving in the zone. It's tough to see Nate go down that way, but it kind of shows you how that low ground will play out for a majority of these teams, and they've been used to being in that spot. Zara actually going down. They have a pad and should be so good on builds, depending on all the action we just saw them take a part of, but it's Leon that snaps their story in half. Flois finally goes down to Rafa, so Andretta will not be there alongside Flois in the finals of this FNCS either. Zaka, though, will have to try to solo clutch this. Kaden and Cruel have been here since day 1 on the right side of your screen. They're in 7th place and have high ground for what it looks like. They must either play really well or go for the win, but Kane slips, slides, and falls. They're having trouble editing through these builds. The pressure amounting to too much. Their blood freezing inside these close, flowy mountains, and Kane is down, put on ice. Cruel now left by himself. No launch pad, has the builds, but is stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Entire lobby with their focus, their eyes looking onto Cruel as the solo. One mere man trying to make his way through the entire lobby. He's 108 below the Surge at the same time. It's ticking, his heel's going, the zone's catching up. He's just doing whatever he can to hit the damage, hit the shots onto some of the other players in the lobby at the same time. This is a potential qualification over, but hold on. He's moved up to 6th place on the leaderboard so far. So the 7th place team is currently down and underneath him, but there's still a lot of placement points left to go.
He's trying to keep things alive and survive. 24th place team all the way up on high ground. So if it's not going to be one of those top 6 teams winning, it might be tough for Cruel. He's dropping down. Perfect drop and catch to make sure he doesn't take the fall damage, but he needs to upkeep with his shields. Player in his box, and that's Cruel's run done. But it's not over yet. Jeff going straight up for height. It's 2 teams that are desperate for a win. They're nowhere close to the consistency. Jeff with the edit course all the way on high ground, but does not find a shot or the Spider-Man grab. It's unfortunate. Left up top to Keandro by himself. Does he have the potential for a res? Is it even an option at this point? No, absolutely not. And now the win, it was just there in his grasp, right there in front of his eyes. It's gone, and he has to do things by himself.
I think he was going for the materials, hopefully getting the drop from from Jeff, but it just didn't happen yet at all. But up on high ground, Flawless. Keyrox, the team who's been in the fights, in the engagements all day, now making a name for themselves up on high ground. They have the materials to hold it, but do they have the skill? Do they have the awareness of the entire lobby? We have not seen that so far, but yet this is the game that they could win and qualify. They have no shot at doing it through consistency.
You can hear the shots rumbling on low ground. Subwoofers of bass just going back and forth over and over again. It is not pretty down there on the ice. Krusty and Relvis, they start to skate down below as well. 118 points. They're right outside the top 6. Swifty, I assume, will just have to qualify after that elimination onto Floki. But there it is. It's Clement actually going down. They should be good too with the points they have in this game. We might be seeing them in the finals, but for Relvis and Krusty, this is desperation. Maximum overdrive. Flawless as well up top on height, 85 points. They need this win. Nothing short of that will cut it with 7 teams still left, but they're having trouble knocking on the door of every team down below. Jams it on this box. Is going to get splintered to side splash as Relvis finally goes down. Krusty, 3 elims, 120 points. He needs about 19 more. Not going to have the chance to maybe even pick up his teammate. His own is bouncing back. 9-zone revival? No chance, absolutely. 30 HP playing with that storm. No mats available. FNCS qualifier run on the line. He navigates with the shot, looking for the beam, and finds it. The dream survives for a few more seconds, but he needs to stay active. 4 teams now down. Stepter finally gone. Krusty, he was the one getting the elimination. Jams it also denied a seat. 5th place. It's looking good. He's fine overall. This might just be enough for the qual. He does go down, though, in 5th place. How much higher do the points go? Clinberry, 11th overall. He might be looking for the win. Him and Leon have been so aggressive, but that maximum push on the gas might be too much. They're out of mats. Leon now, too, is trying to find a way to swing up. That was his last spider shot. They've got nothing but the guns and no mats on their back, going for the drop shot down. It's over. Huddy and Cyro up top, a 92-point run right now. 14th place. They need this win here.
It's a 2v2 situation, high ground versus low ground. The materials, yet again, almost down to nothing. But can the shots connect? The HP so low on Hutty. Hutty has qualified. He's in 3rd place to win this, to qualify. Xerox and Flawless have to pick up the victory. They jump into the box, and they do it. They are going to qualify straight through to the FNCS finals with that victory royale.
Absolutely beautiful from many different teams. We saw a variety of perspectives of runs, especially one that was absolutely desperate. Never count out any team in the semifinals all the way till the last game. That's what we love to see.
Every single match electrifying, every moment of that final game on the edge of my seat. But it went down in the end to the team who took their time, who went up to height layer, Flawless Keyrox.
That was just beautiful, and once again that pattern repeats all the way to game 6. No one really interrupting height at all. It's crazy. A day 2 team that's also rolling by and looking fly. I mean, Reese, that was an amazing form of games, and we saw a bunch of 5th, 6th, 4th places even end their runs in that game. They graduated.
Yeah, there was a lot of people overtaking the leaderboard. When it comes to actually finally see the full list of qualifications, we'll actually see how impactful that final game was.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching the semifinals so far. That was me and Reese on the cast. We'll toss it back over to Zeke, Levin, and Sundown to break down exactly who is going to the finals.
Thank you guys so much. You guys absolutely crushed it today. My goodness, 6 games of Fortnite, and for Cyrox and Flawless, they make it through the end. I love how the caster set it up right there in those final few moments. It does come down to this. They either win that game and they qualify, or they lose and they don't. So well fought from them. It comes down to this, right, Levin? In these final moments of these final games, a team always just finds a way to kind of come up and say, look, we can qualify, we're going to win, whatever it is, we're just going to make sure that we can make it to the very next stage of the competition. And going from 14th, right, you got to think, in this moment, they're thinking, what do we do? You know, it's this or nothing. It's this or we got to wait till the next FNCS. But they held it together. They isolated Huddy there, and they said, no, you're not going anywhere, but we are going to the finals.
Yeah, I love that from them, right? They didn't lose composure. When they lost high ground, we'll talk about it, because one team did make this mistake, but when they lost high ground, they didn't lose composure. They realized, hey, let's try to chop it down. They went for the chop down. Eventually, it played off for them, and they were able to win out the game. They deserve to be in the final. Good job. It's not easy, right, to hold your nerve in the last game when you know everything's on the line, when you're not quite sure if you have enough points to secure in the top 6, but they were able to pull through. So big congratulations. I'm not sure, actually, is that their first FNCS for those guys? I think it might be for Flawless, maybe, but, you know, big congrats to them. Going to be great to see them in the finals next weekend.
Yeah, very much so deserved, showing the composure like you talked about, being able to stay hip to hip. And hey, when you have only one win condition, that's a lot of pressure going on to them, and they were able to close it out, staying as a duo and really working their way too. But also got to give a shout out to Huddy and Swift, a phenomenally consistent round of 6 matches going through. They'll definitely be on that leaderboard, but we don't know completely what that leaderboard is going to look like. As everyone said, just keep an eye on the bottom left-hand corner. You can see nearly every team who was in this end game was right around kind of that single or double digits towards the end, and then they were dropping, but you can just see the work they were consistently putting down and the teamwork they had together. This was every game for them.
Looks so good. Absolutely ridiculous. So we're in the back, right? Let me just set the stage for you guys, you viewers at home. Sundown, Levin, and I, we're in the back every single time someone's eliminated. We're looking at the bottom left. What's going on? Is that what number were they in? Wait, does that mean that this team's still up? The whole time we watched the tail end, the bottom 6 of the top 6 change. And now the question becomes, who did make it through? Now, they did hold on to that 3rd place, right? Huddy absolutely just holding on, because that's what a lot of these teams had to do, right? If you're in that top 6, you got to make sure you can squeeze just every single point you can out, right? Because if some other duo finds their way in, they're going to just knock you out. And we probably will more than likely see the team that was in 6th last time knocked out. So let's remind you guys of who won, who has already made it through on just the victory royale. Trulex, Chico, Irazumi, Ovalder, Swilliam, Lecce, Vortexia, Castery. Which one's this one? Alex Cod, Zandy, I remembered, Levin, I got it, and Flawless, and Cyrox. Congratulations, but we got to flip on over. We got to see which duos do make it in that top 6 spot. Levin, it happened. We saw Kate and Cruel. They got pushed out.
So much switch up. If you're looking at that top 6, if you're just remembering back to the leaderboard in the previous game, so many switch ups, and that's what we expected to happen with just how fine the margins were, Sundown. And look, big congratulations to the players in the top 6. A lot of them were incredibly consistent on the day. You know, 1st and 2nd, phenomenal performance. They both did incredible. But when you look down below as well, a lot of them did a great job of being able to sneak their way in just in that final game there.
Yeah, the final top 6 ended up being 129. We saw 2nd place going into that final game was 122. So the only people who ultimately ended up being safe and not having that last game kind of on their back was Floki and Complaint. And even then, we saw them in that highlight package at the end. They were playing in the end games, doing what they do well and being very consistent. But we have to say, hey, that's it for Europe. We got our top 50 duos. Congratulations to everyone. We'll see you next weekend. But what a region for Fortnite this weekend.
So good. We got to take a look at the predictions, right? How did we do? Now, of course, we were right. We knew Floki and Clement would come in and do absolutely well. Kane and Cruel, unfortunately, do miss the bus. But it is okay. It is all good, right, Levin? In these moments, it's easy to kind of look down and say, you know, we lost, we didn't make it, whatever. But it's okay. Fortnite is about growing. It's about evolving. You can take the learnings you have here, go back to the drawing board, study up, VOD review, and then bring all of that into next season.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's the first event of the year. You want to get off to a good start, but if you can't, you have to remember we got a long year of Fortnite ahead of us. There's going to be plenty of duo competitions for the teams that just didn't quite make it. It happens, you know what I mean? It happens. At the end of the day, right, like you said, you hit the drawing board, you come back even stronger. Look, as much as I will probably banter people as much as I can now over the next couple of weeks, you know, because I've got to keep it playful and whatnot. Don't be too hard on yourself, right? It happens. The best 50 duos were the ones that made it through. And if you weren't quite there, next season may be your season.
Yeah, there's always more competitive Fortnite.
Always, always, always. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for this entire weekend of Europe. It has been an incredible subset of games. Please make sure you give these two a follow. Give Reese and Shywager a follow. Without them, this just is impossible. We are back next weekend. Finals. Acts of Champions, prize money on the line, stakes that much higher. But we also have NA East and NA West not too far away, so if you want to watch more Fortnite, there will be more Fortnite for you today. Until next week, we love you, stay safe, and as always, we'll see you guys on the battle bus. Beep beep.
All right, what's going on, Fortnite fam? Today I'm in the lobby with Cease. How are you getting on today? Simple one to start it off.
I'm doing pretty good.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear. So I'm going to go with a bit of a wild card to start things off with here. Assuming the entire world was a zero ping single region, who would you want to duo with?
I probably want to do it with Volks because he's a funny man. He's OCE, and yeah, I've hung out with him a bunch of times.
Another weird one. Time travel your current skill back to the 2019 Solo World Cup. Where are you placing?
I don't think I put much more than like a couple hours into practicing for solos because I was so focused on duos, and duos was of course the day before, so I was already excited. I was like, I already did. So what can I do? So I literally landed at the most shambles spot ever. If I could change anything, I would probably just land the block.
What would be the first and best piece of advice you'd give someone who's kind of new, starting to get into the competitive scene now and just starting to improve their kind of Fortnite competitive placement?
If you place top 15 in a cash cup, take that $200, whatever it is, and put it aside. If you get top 10 in the grand finals, just put that aside for a new computer or for a new mouse that you've been wanting or whatever. Like, invest in yourself. That's exactly what I did. Like, my two teammates in the last FNCS were on the worst computers possible. I got them new computers for the Grand Royale, and look what happened. I think we made double what we made in the last FNCS.
Where do you rate yourself on the greatest of all time, the GOAT list?
I think right now, I probably put myself, within the top 25. But I think after this year, I'll be, back into the top 10, top 5.
There's a lot of money to play for when it comes for a lot of these finals, and there's a lot of stress involved in that too. Are you planning anything in particular with your mindset?
I don't think I had any nerves at World Cup. Like, I literally had duos, and I can tell because we were so prepared and we had a game plan knocked out. But then it came to solos, and I was extremely nervous because I had nothing, and I was by myself, and so now into trios, it's like. This last FNCS, I had so much prepared. I knew exactly what our game plan was. I knew what we were going to do, and we knocked it out.
You already mentioned earlier your favorite game mode is duos in particular. What's your least favorite game mode?
Well, duos is always like a part of the game, but when trios came out, I was like, oh, no way, a year of trios. I hate it. Now we're on the duos, and I'm like, no, trios is gone. I want trios. And so I always didn't like squads, and I'm guessing if squads got announced for a year or however long, I would be like, I'd hate it, but then by the end of the year, I'd love it. So it's just like, I don't really know. I think squads right now, but who knows? Maybe it's probably solos, honestly.
Thank you very much for your time, Cease. It's very, very, very appreciated here. Where can the people find you?
At Cease on everything. That's just my handle across all socials, so just stay in touch.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, it does get harder. Oh my god.
Let's go. I'm ready for the random patch of grass or like the random wall up close. I'm just not gonna be able to understand.
Oh, this is a good one.
This is on the south side of Sleepy Sounds. This is looking towards the lighthouse behind it.
Oh, this is from Sleepy Sound, I think.
This is definitely Sleepy Sounds, I'd say.
This is at Sleepy Sound.
That is Sleepy Sound.
It's a little close, but...
Let's go. We are in Condo Canyon.
This is actually my drop spot, I believe. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is Condo Canyon.
I'm not 100% sure. I just say Condo Canyon.
Oh, this is at Condo Canyon.
That is Kando. I don't know the name. Kando something. Kando Canyon.
Condo Canyon. Nice.
I'm just too goated at this or something. I don't know what to say. Oh my god, this one is such a hard one.
Uh-oh.
I think this is Bugle.
Meowscles Morsel.
Okay, no, this one is, this one's in Coney.
Probably Tilted Towers, because of the building.
Coney? I'm just guessing Coney, I'm not sure.
So the building looks familiar. I think I'm gonna say Tilted.
I don't know a sign on the view. I didn't even know it was there.
Nice.
No way.
Oh my lord, what is this? What is this?
This is Greasy Grove, 100%.
Oh, Greasy.
Easy. This one is so easy. It's Greasy Grove.
Gosh, I have no clue.
Oh, this is at Greasy. I land Greasy, so...
I'm gonna go with Rocky Rios.
Let's go.
4 for 4.
Oh, this is a tough one.
If it's not Jones's, it might be Camp Cuddle, but I think it's Jones's. I'm gonna lock in Jones's.
Is this Shifty Shafts? Oh wait, no, it could be Camp Cuddle.
I think Camp Cuddle, because of the trees and the campfire. I don't really know.
The Joneses?
Like, this doesn't even seem like a POI. Like, I'd say Camp Cuddle.
Great.
Loot Lake, wow. Yeah, I've not been here.
Yeah, I've never been here either. Yeah, don't land here.
See, I would have never guessed that.
I think Bugle is probably the best spot on the map right now.
There is like a lot of chests, a lot of ammo, a lot of everything.
Tilted Towers, there's just so much floor loot and ammo boxes and pepper boxes, so you just always come out really stacked. And then Sleepy Sound just has a lot of pepper boxes and a lot of floor loot, so you always come out with a lot of launch pads.
I really enjoyed Tilted coming back. It was very fun to land there again.
I actually land Tilted. That's my drop spot. Duos.
Tilted is like one of my favorite spots in the game, like forever.
It's going to be very good and competitive. A lot of players are going to have it uncontested.
And it's all modernized and changed into this current into the current way the game is played, and it's really cool.
That nostalgia, I'd say.
I cannot be more happy.
So I think people are making a mistake by not landing Sanctuary, because that Mythic AR there is definitely the best AR in the game.
If you can capitalize and get Sanctuary to yourself and maybe even get that Mythic AR in a Grand Finals, I just know how good it is.
Camp Cuddle is a really underrated spot.
I think Vigo's definitely the most slept on POI. I didn't even think of it in my top 3. Probably is honestly a top 3. It is a crazy POI.
Best method to rotate on the map is definitely using Spider-Man's.
I would definitely say Spider-Man's 100%.
It can get you across the map in probably a couple minutes. Nothing can do that right now.
The map awareness is definitely like really important, because like if you don't know where you are or where you're going or like where it could pull, like you're gonna just be in a pretty bad situation for like the next zone pull.
So you really got to be aware and understand the map.
A good map habit would be always to mark where the zone goes and what side you want to be on.
Oh, you need to always 100% be aware of where the zone is.
Marking it is a huge thing, and I think that like that alone has saved me so many times, because I can just see where the zones is and I'm not guessing.
Because if a zone pulls far and you're in a really bad spot, it could end your game.
Yeah, I would say the best tip to find a drop spot for your playstyle is really find where your strengths are in fighting.
Look for something that's not too heavily contested. It's kind of difficult in this current meta.
If you're really a team that needs to play for Surge and really passive, I think you go for a center map, so a center spot, so that you can loot quick, get some Surge, and then rotate and don't need to fight anybody.
And then if you want to like fight and you're really good at fighting, you want a crap ton of kills, then I'd probably just land like a 3C, Tilted, Chonkers, Daily.
I think Bugle is definitely the best spot for an aggressive player, and Sanctuary. Both of those drop spots are very, very good.
Don't be scared to land somewhere shambles. If you can master a spot that's really, really good, then do it.
on FNCS North America East. We saw Princess Wolf and AMT take a victory royale and go on to qualify. The only duo to advance who haven't been in FNCS finals before. Av and NQs popped off with 8 eliminations but narrowly missed out on qualifying. They are the only duo to place lower than 11th place with that many eliminations. Will they pop off again and advance today? And we saw Fable, Taco and Jackson J go 3 straight games where they finished top 10, but it wasn't enough to qualify. They will be competing for a spot in the finals again today. It's the last chance. It's all to play for right now on FNCS NAE Semi-Finals Day 3. In the beginning, there were qualifiers. Now we are right on the edge of something magnificent, confirming the final 12 duos who will be entering into the battle for supremacy next weekend. Players have clutched, dominated, truck played in this new semi-finals format. 38 teams have already assembled for the finals, primed for the ultimate test. So who will rise up to challenge them? Welcome in, you lot, because it's Fortnite time! My name is Adam Savage. I am delighted to be your host at the course of this FNCS NAE semi-finals day number 3. And joining me here on the desk of destiny, the one and only Vivid and somebody's gun. Boys, this is going to be absolutely incredible. What a day we have ahead of us. First things first, Vivid, this is the last opportunity to qualify. What a ride it's been so far.
Yeah, what a ride it's been so far. You know, we've seen, your little coins right there, truck plays, right? These players are pulling out all the stops that they possibly can so that way they can secure themselves a spot in the finals. But now we're coming down to the wire, SBG, right? It is day 3 of the semifinals. 50 teams coming into the lobby, but we only have room for 12 more. I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, and perfectly said. The truck plays at the stop, well done. I like the little wordplay there, but ultimately it's going to come down to who has it and who wants it most today, because everyone wants to win these games. But now, instead of 5, we got 6, an extra game today. 1 more team will qualify through that victory royale. It's going to be quite interesting because so many big players and big names are still on our list.
Indeed, and we've got a few new duos coming into the mix as well here, which will really shake things up as well. So we'll talk about those very shortly. But first things first, let's make this clear, okay? There is a way that you can watch FNCS semi-finals in the best way possible right now. Legends Landing, baby. It's all new this season. We have been hyping this thing up because it is spectacular. A great opportunity to watch live. All the action. You can find this in the Buy Epic Discovery Row. You can watch FNCS finals from this location. It is such a fun place. As I mentioned before, tons of activities, activations, fun things for you guys to do and experience and see as well. And you can hear our voices in all its glory in Legends Landing. As I said, the Buy Epic Discovery Row. It's a fun place, and there's so much more fun to be had here on the broadcast as well. Let's actually take a look at the schedule, because I know you guys at home might not have seen this before, want to see it again, or just get a recap from us here on what is coming your way and how we got here as well. Qualifier 1 and 2 happened last weekend, February 18th and 20th. We see that we had 16 teams go through, 8 on both days, and now here we are, semi-finals day 3. We've had the 25th and we've had the 26th. It is the 27th. This is the last chance, as we've mentioned here already. 12 teams left will qualify for finals next weekend, March 5th and 6th. It is unbelievable, and it's all happening. We're getting there, guys. We're almost at the final furlong, the real push for the top of the mountain. It's all coming your way. But of course, as well, we have the format. Vivid, walk us through how do we get to finals?
Yeah, so we're going to be finding ourselves in that middle column right there, session 3 of the semifinals. We are in the last chance possible qualifiers, so that way these players can make it over into the finals. Let's not forget, though, a victory royale nets you a direct spot straight into the finals. So we will coin 6 teams from that format today, and then top 6 consistency also matters over those 6 games, so a lot to play for, and these teams will shake it up. Some will go for high ground, and some will just try to chill and play for those consistent points.
Now, let's take a look, see what exactly we're playing for today, and look at the point format. We have 1,000 points. That's basically just saying, all right, you guys move on. Obviously, if you win the game, you're going to finals. Congratulations. But everyone else that doesn't win the match, you're playing for this consistency, these points in the semifinals. So we have 28 points for second place, and you start getting placement at 35th. Now, the big key that we've seen is these elimination points. It's 3 points per elimination. A lot of the teams that have been qualifying without the Victory Royale, finishing in that top 6, have been slaying out and picking up tons of eliminations. So, likely going to see something like that once again here today.
Yeah, you could be more right there. It's the balance, isn't it, of the two things? But, 6 teams going through just purely from Victory Royales. That is exciting. The points, though, they must count for something. Those 6 places at the end of the day as well. Let's take a look at some of the teams that are competing in front of our very eyes today as well, Vivid. A few new teams we can see there as well, but those are some of the duos who are going head-to-head those last 12 positions today.
Yeah, let's not forget we have 11 new duos joining the battle today. Eden and Cody up at the top there, all the way through to Omri, 2K, and Fratrice there on that third row. 11 new duos are going to be joining this competition, and it's going to shake up everything. All spawn fights, how the middle game plays. Some of the teams might be high ground oriented, shake up how that battle goes. And there are some namely players in here, SPG.
Oh, there definitely is. And like you said, even with the old players, we found some switch-ups at these different POIs as different players decided to fill the void over at Greasy Grove when some players qualified. One team that fell, actually 2 teams, they're right next to each other. AV and Fabled Tacos just were so close yesterday, and I'm really hoping that they're able to push through today because they were on the verge, and unfortunately in that final game were unable to do enough.
Yeah, as is always the case at NAE, we love to keep you guys at home guessing to the very end, and we like to keep ourselves guessing on the desk as well, because it is so tight in this region that it comes down to a few points. Day 1, it was down to 1 point in semi-finals. Yesterday, 6 points, so as you can see, it is so close. We love getting to know the players. We've seen loads of these kind of real cool VTs, giving you guys a bit of insight into them and their lives and their worlds as well. Let's check in with Mega to find out a bit more about this amazing player and this duo coming into today's action.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Today I am in the lobby with Mega. Mega, thank you very much for being here. First question, let's start as simple. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
I am fantastic. Weird one to start things off here. Assuming the entire world changed to one region and you had 0 ping everywhere, who would you want to duo with?
Definitely Dubs, because we just have the most chemistry together.
Well, it's interesting, obviously, because you guys have been duos since... Is it even the first duos tournament, like all the way back?
Yeah, all the way back to Scallywag. We've been doing it for a long time.
What do you think it is about, like, you two that work so well?
I think just because we've been playing so long together, we're, like, on the same page for a lot of, like, rotates and just everything.
Since you've been together so long, like, how do you think your guys' chemistry is? Like, is it just you know what he's gonna do, he knows what you're gonna do?
There's a lot of times where I know when, like, Dubs is gonna go in on a kid. If he doesn't talk or something, like, when he's fighting, you know he's got him, like, really low and he's just trying to concentrate. Playing with someone for so long can get you, you know? Like, you just know what they're gonna do.
I like the fact that you figured out when he's not talking, you're like, oh, he needs some help, you know? Usually, most people would be the opposite. They're screaming, they're shouting. You're like, I need to get in here with him, but here's the opposite. There's a lot of other teams out there. Is there anyone who you think right now is the best duo on your respective region in East?
I think Threats and Users are definitely on the come up, and they're going to play really good in FNCS scans.
What do you think it is that they're doing well?
I just like their play style, and I think it's going to bring them really far.
Do you do anything in terms of like your mental preparation? Is there any particular mindset you like to have? Is there anything you think about in particular?
You can always make a lot of money, but like even if you do like not good, then like you're just not losing anything. So
I like that. I've asked this question to quite a lot of people, and I've never heard anyone say I'm not losing by not winning. Essentially,
yeah.
I think if I wrap it up and just that's quite a cool one. But if you want to be the greatest of all time, what would you say is like the most important things to be able to be one of the best, if not just the best?
Definitely mechanics, aim, and I think the most important one is your mental. If you're not having a good mental going into this, or like game 3, you have bad like first 2 games, you could still really make it like come back. But if you have a bad mental, then I think to begin with you're just not going to do good. So mental is a huge component for sure.
I have one other question here. Who's the best player you've ever previously teamed up with?
Oh, Dubs.
No way. Yeah, I thought that would be pretty obvious. Look, thank you very much for your time, Mega.
Alright, peace guys, thank you.
I love to see the camaraderie between Mega and Dubs there, but as well, Vivid, we regularly say that your hair's got such volume, such beautiful bounce. Mega's taken to the level. What a fabulous Barnet. Fantastic. I love it. We obviously are going to see Mega and Dubs compete today. Shifty Shaft is looking like it could be the one. We've got a few teams in that contention there as well. But let's take a look at some of the duos specifically, because there are still so many who've not qualified and names that you kind of think should be there or thereabouts. Let's take a look at Casca and Smacked first, who I know are a duo that we've talked about loads before at FNCS. Still not qualified, but they are going to be competing today for us, Vivid. What makes these guys definitely worth a watch?
They are a well-vetted duo. They have the experience, and overall, they're just good, right? They just haven't found their rhythm yet. However, at the end of day 2 yesterday, we saw that they got 4th place with 4 eliminations. And the previous 4 games, they didn't do too well. So that last game kind of sets them up for a strong opener today. If they can carry that momentum into day number 3, they can have a good day. And Southern Tilted Towers uncontested is huge for them as well.
Yeah, and we've seen teams qualify out of that space. Most namely is Benji Fishy and Mr. Savage over on EU, taking that same position. You're able to get all your mats, good loadout, so I expect them to do pretty well.
Yeah, me too. Obviously, we saw mats yesterday with high ground takes as well. Was so pivotal. So it's great they can load up with the mats and hopefully get to the end game. Let's talk about another one of our duos as well. Slacks and Clarity G. I chose these guys yesterday prediction-wise. Didn't quite go through. 14th now, both days back-to-back. Not quite making, but very close to doing so. Why are they so special here, Vivid?
Yeah, you got to think 14th, right? With 11 teams going through, that's only 3 spots behind. Looking through their match history, they usually like to hover around that 12th place finish each game, right? So they are very close to just breaking into that top 10. If they can just clean it up today on day number 3, they are for sure going to make it through at least consistency. But I bet that these guys can for sure get a victory out because they have the experience.
And we saw them get close a couple of times. They were going for that high ground position yesterday, and that is exactly where you want to be based on what we've seen. But there was also a couple teams that played that low ground. That may be the switch of plans in order to succeed today.
Yes, absolutely. And one team I know that we're all excited to see as well in this competition, Income on day number 3, Cease and Elite. We've seen Cease talk loads on our pre-show, the videos and such as well. It's great to see him compete today as well with his teammate Vivid. It's great to see what these guys could bring to the table.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the double-edged sword of coming in on day 3, right? Like, you're not really used to playing in these lobbies yet, while some of these players who have been in it through both days are. But then these players don't know really how you play yet because you haven't shown any of your cards yet. So it could really work in their favor. And landing over at the Covert Canyon, you know that you get those guaranteed launch pads, which could be very favorable in just coming out and winning a Victory Royale.
Again, seen a number of teams coming out of this POI and qualifying to finals, so we'll see exactly if they're able to replicate that because it's not a simple task, especially if they're going to be contested.
Yeah, it could actually be quite an advantage as well, couldn't it? Coming on day 3, having not had a chance to compete yet at all, you're kind of feeling good. You know you need to make an impact immediately, whereas other teams could be kind of flagging a little bit after 2 days of not competing. It'd be interesting to see how this one unfolds. But let's actually take a look at that POI specifically as well. We're looking at like kind of, off-spawn fights that will be really interesting today. And Covert Cavern seems to be one where there's going to be a few teams going head-to-head to head. What makes it such a great POI to land in, Vivid? Why do we like seeing this one so much? What makes it such an interesting spot for our duos to begin their journey each game from?
Let's just say the obvious answer, right? The vault. There's just so much concentrated loot. You got the guaranteed launch pad, some slurp barrels in there, and there's chests that just give it so much loot. But then also, you have these launch pads that are actually based around the POI that are always there, so it makes kind of some easy rotations out of the POI alone. And that's why you see so many players stick at this POI when they don't have the key card. They just kind of sit there and they're waiting for the other duo to bring it back because there are guaranteed rotations out of this area, and you get so much loot from the vault that you can just heal up even though you're tanking the storm. So it's like there's a lot of loot to gather, but all the teams know that, so they fight for it.
Yeah, and we'll see exactly how this plays out, who decides to claim and what winds up happening by that 6th match. One thing we haven't really seen is teams using that IO card to try and rotate out of there, because that's one of the best vehicles in the game to use for rotates. Like you said, Vivid, there's so much movement coming out of that POI, so these players have to capture that.
Yeah, and this could be one of the reasons that we've had, you mentioned it, SBG, some of our teams have qualified from that POI is because of those rotations that are so beneficial to them as well. So I can't wait to see it unfold. I mean, obviously, we've had 2 days of this already, and here's day number 3, and I'm just absolutely buzzing for the 3rd day of this because the format's so much fun as well. So let's take a look at another POI, actually. We mentioned Loot there. Let's look at Loot Lake. Why not? And Redbridge here. Vivid, another POI which seems relatively popular. We're looking at we're going to get an off-spawn fight there as well today. So what can you see happening?
Yeah, this is one of those drops where it's a little bit sketchy because it's what we coin as a split drop. You know, there's not a lot of loot. You kind of got to run around the whole entire area to gather up any of the floating chests that are there, but there's no real amount of concentrated loot. So you'll see a lot of these times these players will just land on each other at wherever the main bundle of the loot is, because if they know that if they lose that area of the loot, then they pretty much are going to lose that fight anyway. And you really got to just work on an elimination on the other team that's contesting you fast, because if they're off like stealing your route, you can't just work with whatever you land on because there's just not a lot there. You need that whole area.
And we've seen Smite and Larson take so many different early game fights. These guys have literally just been finding anybody in this early game and then taking that fight. It hasn't necessarily worked out for them. They're getting eliminations, but it's not continuing that momentum towards the end of the game. So maybe Moo and Wanted, they're going to be the ones that push them out. We'll see exactly how this winds up because Smite and Larson, they change it up quite often.
Yeah, well, you have to adapt in some ways as well. Any given situation, obviously every day we've seen new teams drop into your POI, maybe leave and open it up for you as well. So that the way that you can adapt is really key as well. So be telling for our duos whether or not they can make it work when they need to, particularly when things like Storm Surge are coming and you need to get the tags and to build. We're all going to see it unfold. Okay, you can see me getting ahead of myself here. While I reset and dab my brow, I'm getting very excited. Let's take a look at some quick fire questions from some of our competitors coming at you from NAE.
I like pizza more because I have it a lot more.
Pizza.
Oh, pizza, 100%.
I prefer pizzas.
I'm just not a big fan of hamburgers, to be honest. I don't know. I've just always liked pizza more than hamburgers.
I like high ground a lot more.
Right now in the state of Fortnite, I'd probably say high ground.
I think low ground because it's 100% more safe than high ground.
I like low ground more because on high ground a lot more people will like have a chance of ruining your game.
Low ground.
Definitely low ground. I've always been more of a low ground type of player my whole career. I have 2 dogs, so it's a little biased, but I'm definitely a dog type of guy.
I like dogs more because my dad's actually allergic to cats, so I can't have any.
I've never been a dog person. I've always had like cats.
I would go with cats because I have 4 cats at home and I really never had a dog, and cats is just the cutest thing ever.
I have 2 dogs, so I prefer dogs.
Definitely dogs. 100%.
Car, definitely.
Probably car.
100% car because there's shield that can protect you from every bullet.
Definitely by car.
Car probably because you're more like sealed in it.
Car.